Welcome, Jordan here. Today we're going to be answering the question, how do I deepen my level of self-worth as a man? Cultivating a sense of self-worth that allows you to feel solid in yourself, a sense of love and respect for yourself, and regardless of what's going on around you, results or what you're experiencing, you feel solid and fluid enough to be able to evolve with the changes that are happening. Deepening this level of self-worth is a journey that's ongoing. And I'm not going to promise that this video is going to solve all of your problems because it's not. But what I will share with you is a frame of reference, something to pull your attention back into being able to do this on a day to day basis for yourself. And it's actually quite simple, but it requires intentional awareness and direction of focus towards something that is going to help you do this on a regular basis. And over time, things will change for you. The first thing we're going to look at here is, how do you know if you have low self worth or self worth that is causing friction or resistance in your life? Well, there's a couple of key areas that you can look at. If you find yourself to be quite reactive to life, where you feel like things around you, whether it's people or things that you see online or just life in general, brings out an emotional reaction within you quite often, and you're not really sure how to navigate that, that can be one indication. Now, you can get into the specific details of that, but this can show up in many different ways. Another thing is, if you find yourself endlessly chasing towards a goal, but not really reaching it, or if you do reach it, there's this kind of lack of fulfillment that is being experienced even when achievement happens. Or you may feel like you're constantly on a hamster wheel of doing and going and moving, but regardless of that, there's still something that just doesn't feel right in the quiet moments when you're by yourself. All of these things are indications that there's some deeper work to be done underneath the surface. We're using self-worth as just a label for this right now, but there's many ways that you can look at this. We use language to be able to articulate something, and oftentimes we have different understandings of what that means. Self-worth, in terms of how I look at it, is our idea of ourselves and what we're worthy of in this life. So if we have low self-worth, it means that we feel like we are unworthy of the things that we desire, such as love, money, friendship, community, health, whatever the case is. The idea that we have a low sense of self, a low sense of worthiness, means that we're going to work harder to have the things that we feel like we're unworthy of because we feel like we must earn it. And a lot of this comes from our idea of ourselves that's formed in childhood based on our experiences with our parents. The people that we give authority to and how they treat us has a big influence on how we see ourselves, because we don't know who we are in those beginning formative years. We are picking up our idea of who we are from others. So if there was emotional distance from a parent, or there was any form of conditional love, which we all experienced in some degree, there may be stories created around your level of worthiness. So if someone has a very low sense of self-worth, they likely had a lot of experiences where they desired or craved love, care, affection, to be seen, to be understood, and didn't have many of those experiences, or they were shamed for it or rejected in some way, shape, or form, whether intentional or not. That can lead to this deep desire underneath to be seen, to be understood, to be loved just as they are, which is something that we all have in varying degrees. We all want to be loved and seen and appreciated for who we are. But the interesting thing that I've realized throughout my journey of this is, it starts with us. And regardless of what has happened in our life, it's not for us to start blaming others, but it is our responsibility to start deepening this for ourselves, which is what we're going to be discussing here. So let's go a little bit deeper. If a child or a teenager, whatever the age may be, experiences that disconnection from what they truly desired, which was love, care, attention, all of these are different forms of love. When we don't receive that unconditionally, it is conditional. We start to create the stories that create those conditions in our life in the modern day, in real time. It can make us feel like we need to chase things, that it's out of reach or just a little bit beyond what we're able to see just ahead of us. Because very early on, we learned that these things aren't given unconditionally. So the sense of love that we're craving within is this chase and this journey to find it somewhere outside of us. We think that the sense of worth, the sense of love, the sense of being fully seen and appreciated for who we are is going to come from chasing recognition, achievements, a relationship, a level of status. All of these things are on the surface. And we create the story around if we just get close enough to having those things and we have enough of them, then we will feel the feeling that we truly want to feel underneath. And that's the deeper driver that causes the overworking, the burnout, the push, the attachment to outcomes. I've seen this play out in two different directions where it's kind of a split. You have one person over here who has this deeper story or pattern underneath. And even though they may be doing all of the things right, don't experience the real results that they want because they're so attached to it that they repel it and push it away, but they keep themselves in motion because they feel like they need to earn it. It shows up in a slightly different way for someone who's actually achieved a lot of success because you can do those things and you can become really, really good at suppressing your emotions and not feeling things and therefore going out, doing what you need to do to get the success. But then when you get the success, it feels flat or it feels empty or it's not fulfilling. And that person experiences that to point them back into do the deeper work of really what's going on under the surface. An important note with this is to understand that we're not talking about achievement or going after things as something not to do. It's really about looking at what is actually driving things under the surface. We are human beings. We are here to grow and expand. That is naturally what we're going to do. There's nothing to chase. That will naturally happen because we're here to expand. That's my inherent belief and my understanding from my own life as well. So there's no fear of not growing and expanding because you have to. It's just part of your nature and who you are. But the chasing is where we're looking at under the surface. What is driving that? What is the fuel source behind it? When there is any form of chasing involved, usually the emotion underneath the surface is related to fear in some way, shape, or form, or something else. Shame, guilt, which in this case, when related to self worth, can be very related to feeling ashamed or not receiving the love that you truly desired. The natural expansion, the natural growth that happens just as a byproduct of being human, we tap into that when we learn to love, when we feel love. It's like this expansive energy that pulls us forward. It's a pull from the front rather than a push from behind. And that's an infinite fuel source that will bring you to create amazing things in this world. It's your purpose, it's your mission, it's your reason for being. That's the thing that will pull you forward. You don't need to chase that. If you want support on this path of being pulled forward rather than being pushed from behind and that fuel source that we're talking about, check out the 14-day audio series down below. It's there to help you do just that. So now that we know all of this, how can we deepen our levels of self worth? Let's keep it simple and easy and practical. Bringing things to light allows them to be seen. Whether we want to see them or not is our own choice. If we don't want to see them, we want to push them away, we don't want to address it, that's where things start to bubble under the surface. When we can have the courage to go in and look at these things, we can start to see really why we would have any form of low self worth in the first place. Why are we not experiencing the love that we truly want? And if it's not going to come from something outside of us, it has to come from us. We are the source of it. So, how do we tap into that source? Learning to feel your emotions. And the easiest gateway into this is to look at where you judge others, look at the moments throughout your day where there's an emotional reaction that makes you feel anger or resentment or frustration or sadness. Notice the things that bring out a reaction in you. And you can look at this through the lens of judgment as well. Where do you judge others? What do you judge them for? And if we had to pause for a moment in those times and we had to just look at, okay, I'm going to pause, I'm going to zoom out of this experience for a moment. Look at myself from the third person, almost like you're in a movie, right? And instead asking the question, what emotion am I avoiding right now? That's the invitation. There's a feeling under everything. And when we allow ourselves to feel that emotion, we actually release the grip that the old story has on us. We don't need to identify every single story down to the minute detail. We just need to look at what is bringing out an emotional reaction around us in real time and invite ourselves into allowing ourselves to feel whatever it is that we're meant to feel in that moment. Let me tell you a personal story and we'll ground this in reality. I remember throughout my business journey a couple of years ago, I found myself chasing, like chasing quite a lot, attached to outcomes, needing the result, needing to hit the results that I really truly desired in order to make sure that everybody knew that I was capable. And as I started to hit some of these targets, I started to realize that there was something underneath the surface driving me. As I went deeper into this work that I'm sharing with you here, I learned more and more that this chasing that I had was really me chasing my father's love. I wanted to be seen and appreciated and recognized as a boy. So that same pattern was playing out in me chasing results and chasing things in my life. So that was the story I was able to connect to my behavior and understand what was really driving me. But underneath that again was an emotion. And this was its own journey of unraveling. But it was a feeling of shame. It was a feeling of being deeply hurt. So what I would start to see is that when I wasn't receiving the outcome that I wanted from the effort that I was putting in, I would get really frustrated. I would get angry. I would really get sad. I would be so attached because I needed it, but I needed it because I was trying to avoid the feeling of shame underneath that was actually driving everything else. And the fear as well of not having that or not potentially experiencing that. So that redirected me inwards. This journey of feeling all of those emotions deepened my level of self worth because I started to see myself instead of waiting for others to see me. And this is what this work really does. It's the power of it. It may sound simple to feel the emotions, but it's a journey. Don't get me wrong. And if you're new to that and it's not something that you do regularly, it can be a journey to even just dip your toes in and get into that and really just feel in any capacity. Because there's all sorts of stories that we can have around emotions as men, what it means about us. That's all part of the unraveling that actually brings us into this deepened sense of presence into our heart center, where we can live with this open heart and feel the things that we're here to feel. When you can see and love and appreciate all parts of you, especially the ones that feel like you'd rather not, your self worth goes from being at a low baseline, skyrocketing upwards because you've now released the patterns of needing anybody or anything or any achievement to validate who you are. So you walk around with this magnetic presence, this presence of just certainty and love, and not coming from an egotistical place, but coming from a deep sense of you just feel it within yourself. And then you walk around and think about what that does to your loving relationships, your ability to attract a partner, your ability to have more money in your life, to lead others, because you don't need the things outside of you that were driving behavior before for you to feel a certain way. You actually feel that way already. Now you're in this pull energy forward, infinite capacity to have whatever you want in life, but not because you need it, just because it's a natural part of you desiring things and that pulls you forward and it's fun to do. In essence, you become the embodiment of a man who knows that his sense of self, his self worth, does not come from what he achieves or what he does, but it comes from the deep love and respect that he has for himself just as he is. And then from that place, you achieve, you have, because now it's just about allowing yourself to have those things. I get reminded time and time again that the quality of our life is dictated by how deeply we can feel the emotions that are underneath the surface, just waiting to come out. That's it for today. Hope you enjoyed this one. I'll see you in the next one.